In this video, we're going to show you to install the knock sensor on your Nissan Rogue located on the back side of your engine. So we got to remove our center cap here, reach behind that and pull outward. Set that aside. Using a 21mm socket, let's go ahead, loosen and remove these lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel. Remove it and set it aside. Right up underneath the bumper here, there is going to be a drain plug for our radiator. You can use a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver. Go ahead and slowly open that up. Have your drain pan ready to go. Now with the radiator pretty much drained out, you want to go ahead and take your drain plug, inspect the O-ring on here, make sure that is in good condition. If that is flattened out, torn, or shredded in any way, you have to replace that now. Ours is in good condition. Let's go ahead and reinstall this here. We'll snug that up into position here. Once that bottoms out, just give it a little bit more. Now we can go ahead and just wipe down the residual here. So you're going to go ahead and access the knock sensor up in the back side behind the oil cooler. Now right here, viewing through the wheel well area, we have a mirror set up to show you that we're going to access this hose attached to the oil cooler. We're going to loosen that clamp, slide that hose off. That's going to give us direct access to that horizontal silver bolt right there holding the knock sensor in place. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go ahead, loosen, remove that bolt. We're going to keep the wiring harness attached to that sensor. When we remove it from the engine, we will then disconnect the harness from the sensor. I'm going to use a pair of pliers here. I'm going to go ahead and grab that clamp and work that clamp and hose off. I want to go ahead and use a 12mm socket to loosen and remove this bolt. Now with that bolt loose, go ahead and reach up. Move that the rest of the way. We get the bolt out now. Grab the harness and the sensor and pull that down. Remove your sensor. Now take your new knock sensor. We're going to take our bolt. We're going to feed that in here. We're going to go ahead and feed this up into the engine compartment and get this bolt started. And then later on, once we torque this down, we're going to install the harness on the end. Now I'm going to thread this bolt in as far as I can by hand. I want to make sure that our sensor end is facing outward, so we can go ahead and install the connector on there. Snug that in place. Now you want to torque that down to 16 foot-pounds. With that sensor torqued into position, which is very important to do so, go ahead and install that harness connector. You can feel it in here, it snap into place. Once that's installed there, go ahead and bring that hose over and get that installed onto our oil cooler. Once that's on, you can go ahead and fill up the cooling system. Take your wheel, line it up, get that set on, and let's go ahead and install all the lug nuts by hand. Get them started a few threads. Once we have all those started, let's go ahead and snug those down. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Once you're all torqued down, install your center cap. You're going to pay attention to the notch here on the cap. That's where your valve stem is going to go. I want to go ahead and fill up our radiator here. Going to use the appropriate coolant required from the manufacturer. Now at this point here, once we have our radiator filled up, I'm going to go ahead and remove our fill tools here. Let's go ahead and get our radiator cap installed. Let's go ahead and fill up our expansion tank. Now on the passenger side of the engine, you're going to find the expansion tank here. I'm going to go ahead and add coolant to this here. There is a max and min line on the side of the tank. So you want to go ahead and slowly fill this here and watching that line. Now our max line right now is the actual seam on the tank. There's a max line right there. Min or minimum is at the lower portion of the tank. So we went ahead and filled to that seam. And go ahead and remove our funnel. Put on that cover. Now at this point here, you want to go ahead and start up the vehicle, let it run for about 15-20 minutes, let the engine warm up. Then at that point there, you want to go ahead and check the expansion tank here. If that has dropped down, the level has dropped down, go ahead and open this up and add accordingly to this tank here. Never open up the radiator cap when it's hot.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.